Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Copywriting Secrets Masterclass, the insider's guide to finding the right words that make people buy from you no matter what you sell. Copywriting secret. It's all ice cream, but what flavor should I choose? So now we're talking about video sales letters versus long sales letters versus short sales letters. And some people think that length matters. So we need to answer the question, what should I use? A video sales letter, a long sales letter, or a short sales letter? Which do you think is best? So I'm actually going to give you a two-part answer. I'm going to give you my personal answer, and I'm going to give you my professional answer. So my personal answer is I always start with a video sales letter. And you might ask, why do you always start with a video sales letter, Jim? And my answer is because it's the fastest way to get an offer up for me. It's the fastest way for me to get something up when I want to test an idea, when I want to sell something, when I want to make an offer, when I want to launch a new funnel. Anytime I'm going out into the marketplace, a video sales letter is by far and away the absolute fastest way for me to do this. And the structure we use for it is this. So if you imagine the page where this would be displayed, we're going to have the headline at the very top, which, just as an aside, pretty much any page you ever put anywhere online or offline should have a headline on it. So we start with the headline, then we have the video, which starts playing automatically. Now, this causes some people heartburn having the video play automatically. In fact, there are an ever-increasing number of people online who rebel against videos playing automatically. And Chrome has done something that I think is going to have long-reaching effects, which we'll talk about later. However, they have basically put the kibosh on auto-playing videos with the sound turned on. So we'll talk about what the impact is of that, but that's pretty much just in the Chrome for right now. So anyway, we have the video autoplay. Then typically we have a buy button right under the video. Then we have typically 3 to 6 bullets about the product, the software, the surface underneath that. And we can sometimes flip those two. So we may have the video and then the bullets and then the buy button, but typically my buy button's going right underneath the video. We have the guarantee, we have the summary of what they're going to get. So literally we list off, you're going to get this, 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 and this. And then we have another buy button, and then finally we have the close, and then probably a PS. And the PS basically just restates the main benefits that are expressed in the video sales letter itself. So that's the pattern that we've been using now for a number of years, especially for anything that's under a couple $100. Now, why are we using that? Well, number one, it's quick. You can get a video sales letter up on a page, done, produced, a quick and dirty version. That is a one-day project. So if you have the right tools and the right knowledge, you can do this in less than a day. It's also easy for people to digest. So you can run some traffic to it once you get it put up, and you can see how people react to it. And this gets results. It makes sales. It gets opt-ins. It gets clicks. Whatever the objective is for that sales page, this gets results. And so that's another reason why we're using this and doing it this way. Now, the next question on somebody's mind might be, does that mean long form sales letters are dead? And the answer to that is absolutely not. Do not believe anybody who heralds the end of long form sales letters, because it's just not going to happen. I've seen them still used very effectively. I'm still using them. So long form sales letters are not dead. You might ask next, okay, well then why would you use long copy if you say that video sales letters are the things you start with all the time? The answer is you use long copy typically for higher price stuff or things where people need more information. My experience, and again, this is just my experience, nobody wants to sit and watch an hour-long video sales letter. They'll watch an hour-long webinar, but they won't watch in high numbers a video sales letter that's an hour long. So in some cases, you have to give people more information using long copy. In those cases, that's a situation, higher price stuff, they need more information, it's more a technical sale. You have to give them more data in order for them to be able to make their decision. So it's not necessarily that it has to be something that's more expensive. I know somebody who sells a $5,000 coaching program with an 8-minute video and no application process. It's an 8-minute video and you pay or don't pay right there as a result. But typically, those are the two reasons why you would use longer copy. It costs more and or people need more information to make a decision. So in this case, typically what we'll do is we'll do a headline. We'll still do a sales video. Then we have the buy button, and then we have the long form sales letter underneath all of that. So just because you're using a long form sales letter doesn't mean that you don't use the video. So just on a side note, the formula that you use for the actual sales message, whether it's the video sales letter, long form sales letter, or short form sales letter, follows the formulas that I showed you in the secret about sales letter formulas that never fail. So that's where you plug in that formula. And by the way, it's okay if the long form sales letter duplicates a lot of what you share in the video sales letter. In fact, I've actually seen where the video sales letter and the long form sales letter are the exact same thing. The long form sales letter is basically just a transcript of the video sales letter. Or for all you know, the video sales letter is that person reading the video sales letter. The videos and the long form sales letter. Long form sales letter is basically the script that was used to create the video sales letter. It's really 6 one, half dozen another. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you might say, well, why would you want to have it in both the video and in the long form sales letter? And what you'll find is that most people are watching either the video or they're reading. So somebody's at work, somebody's in a situation where they can't listen or they don't want to listen. Some people just want to read. Some people just want to watch. So some people will do both, which is absolutely fine. In fact, in some situations, there are people that will watch the video and then read the sales letter, and then they'll make the decision whether to buy or not. So when would you actually use a short sales letter? And typically you use a shorter sales message when you're selling something cheap. Now let's face it, you don't need a 30-minute video sales letter. You don't need a 30-page sales letter to sell something for $15, $20. You don't need it. You're overselling. You're overdoing it. So also you can use a shorter sales letter, a shorter sales video when you're selling something that doesn't require a whole lot of explanation, especially if you're selling something physical. You can just hold it up in the sales video and say, hey, look, this is what I got. So that's when using a short sales letter makes sense. It's something cheap. It's something that doesn't require a lot of explanation. It's something where if you did longer copy, someone would look at it and say, you know what, they're overselling this. There's something going on here. So that's my personal answer. So I use a video sales letter as my first option in 99.99% of the cases now. Now I'm going to give you my professional answer as to which one you should use. And the professional answer is you have to test which works better, a video sales letter, a long form sales letter, or a short form sales letter. And you need to be really careful of what I call the absolute experts. These are the people who tell you that something is this way and it's the only way this is. So anybody who tells you, oh, this is the only thing you're going to use in this situation is this one, and that's the only thing that works right now, and they're full of crap because they don't know for sure. So somebody might say, oh, well, video sales letters are going to work best here. They don't know that for sure. They don't. And you have to be really careful when you're taking advice from anybody about anything, but especially with sales copy, because this is as much art as it is science. Nobody knows for sure about anything until you test a video sales letter versus a long form sales letter versus a short form sales letter. And what happens is when people are selling, they fall into patterns of things that are working for them. So literally, they get some results. They throw something up and they get a result. Just like the example I gave you. Hey, I can put up a video sales letter and I know I'm going to get some sort of a result. And then they assume that the way they did it is always going to get results. And then they tell others that this is the absolute. This is how to do it. This is the only way to do it. And I'll give you an example. There was a guru who is still around who went around the internet telling everybody that red headlines don't work anymore. That was the big thing. Everybody was saying that you should have your headline in red. And he came around and told everybody that red headlines don't work anymore. Your headline should be blue. So everybody changed their headlines to blue. And what happened? A lot of people's conversion went down. And so what happened was a few people started testing red versus blue. I was one of them. And I found that my red headlines were actually outperforming the blue headlines. Now, was it by a significant amount? On an individual conversion basis, no. But when you spread it out over thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of visits, it became very significant, the difference. But all the people heard from this person that red headlines don't work anymore. Nobody did any testing on their own except for a few people, and a lot of people started losing money. So you need to understand that people are teaching you patterns with things like this. But the only way to know for sure what's going to work is to test all the major different variants and see which one really works for you. So that's all that is. This is just falling into patterns. I do the exact same thing. You know, we did this before. We got good results. So let's just go ahead and do it again because I got other stuff I need to do. That's literally what everybody does. And you have to be careful because that's when the situation of good enough kills your results. Because you might do it the exact same way and keep doing it the exact same way. And then you don't test anything else and you end up leaving a ton of money on the table. I'll give you another example. Upsells or one-time offers. I have used upsells or one-time offers sporadically over the years, but now I do them very, very consistently. Why? Because after 10 years of selling the same product, I finally added a one-time offer to it and immediately saw a 30% increase in profits. And I wanted to go out and slam my head in a car door because as soon as I saw the increase, I went backwards 10 years and calculated all the money that I had left on the table. And so you have to be careful of falling into patterns, especially patterns that other people tell you are the only things that work. So the bottom line is you have to test to know for sure if a video sales letter is going to work better than the alternatives. And I start with a video sales letter with the format that I just taught you. And the reason why is because that's what's working right now for me. So now what you need to do is go test what works best for you and your audience so you know for sure for you what's going to get you the best results. Copywriting secret. Put lipstick on the pig. How do you make bad or underperforming copy pop? And the truth is, sometimes you can't fix copy that's not working, and it's just easier to start over again. So sometimes you'll work on something, you'll pour your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it just plain sucks. Sometimes it's best just to walk away from it. However, sometimes you can put lipstick on a pig and you can turn it into a beauty queen. So here's what I do if copy isn't working. First thing I do is I look at the headline. And you need to ask yourselves a series of questions. And really what this secret is all about is really a checklist of questions to ask yourself to see whether or not you've missed something that is causing one or more areas of your copy to underperform. So do you have a headline? That's the first thing. And you'd be surprised how many people don't have a headline. You sit there and think, Jim, come on now. You already did a secret about headlines. Why in the world would anyone not have a headline? Well, a headline is the first thing that somebody sees on your page. It can also be the first words that come out of your mouth when you're talking in a video sales letter. So a headline is more than just a screaming headline on a page, but you'd be surprised how many people don't have anything even remotely resembling a headline. Second thing you want to know with the headline, is it about you or is it about them? So I had a headline one time that I thought was amazing that basically was all about me, how I went from trailer trash to piles of cash. I thought it was an amazing headline. I was the only person on planet Earth that thought it was good. When I changed the headline to how to gain a positively unfair advantage in business and in life, then my sales took off by over 400%. That was the difference between my headline being about me or being about them. Is there a big, bold benefit or promise in your headline? You can create a headline that will get people to stop what they're doing. A great example of that is people tell the example of saying something like sex or emergency or some sort of word that makes everybody stop. The problem is that it makes people stop, but it makes mostly the wrong people stop. So they stop and read it and then they get pissed off because it has nothing to do with them. So is there a big, bold benefit or promise in your headline that's going to attract the right people to stop and pay attention? So is the offer clear? In other words, is what they're going to get actually going to make sense to them? So what are they getting? Is that super, super clear as far as exactly what they're going to get? You're going to get this, 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 and this. How do they get it? Is it delivered digitally? Does it come overnight? Is it a physical product? Is it an electronic product? Is it coaching? What is it? It needs to be super clear what they're going to get. When do they get it? Do I get it instantly? Do I get it tomorrow? Do I get it next week? Do I get it once a month for the next 12 months? Is it on demand? How much does it cost? This is another thing that just kills me when I'll look at somebody's sales copy and I'm looking to see how much it is, and you can't tell how much it is. And that's going to turn people off because they feel like you're hiding something. So making the offer super clear is going to help you to have better performing copy. What are they getting? How do they get it? When do they get it? How much does it cost? These are the questions that you need to make sure are very easy to figure out from your sales message. Is there a clear reason for them to buy? And maybe a better reason than that is there a clear reason for them to buy now? And I should have said a better question is there a clear reason for them to buy now? Because you can have the greatest offer in the world, but if there's no urgency to buy now, then they're not going to buy now. So you can do that with bonuses. You can do that with a time deadline. You can do that with limited quantities. In fact, these are the 3 ways traditionally that people have used to get people to buy now. There's a double-edged sword there with those, because you can have a great performing offer, but when you run out of limited quantities, that's when people see if you have any integrity or not. Because if you magically have more quantities and then the offer keeps going, the people who bought realized you're full of shit. Same thing with a time deadline. You see this with offers that people make, especially with large product launches. They get all their buddies to pile on and make the offer, and then they say you can only buy this until Friday. Friday rolls around and they quote unquote shut down the offer, and then next Tuesday they're telling you about how their buddy emailed them and said, hey, please, can you open this up just for my people for 24 hours? And you thought, well, that's really not fair, so I have to open it up for everybody for 24 hours. So in case you missed it or in case you waited, you have 24 hours again. Again, that totally throws your integrity out the window. Now, this really came home to me when I launched my first big product that I made a lot of money from. It was a product basically about how to create your own multimedia info products. And it was quite cutting edge for its time. This was back in 2003. I was showing people how to create content and burn it to CD or deliver it over the web. And it was, again, very cutting edge with screen capture video and full motion video. And I made enough money from that promotion to pay my house off. And when the deadline that I was using came along, I had made that money, and then I was totally bummed out. And my wife asked me, what's wrong? I said, I've got a perfect offer. I've got a great product, and I can never sell it again, because I depended on the time deadline of it's only going to be available till this day. And so I learned my lesson on that one. And when I came out with my next big product, I did not use time deadlines. I did not use limited quantities. I used the fear of losing out. And that is a much better reason for them to buy now, but it takes a little more skill to come up with. It's easy to say, okay, I've only got 30 of these left, or it's easy to say this is only available till next Friday. But if you can incorporate the fear of losing out into your copy, then you can do much better. And the way you do that is simply by telling people, hey, if you don't buy this, here's what's going to happen. You use what's called future pacing. You're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to have this. You're not going to have the ability to whatever. And if you lay on 3, 4, 5 reasons why, if they wait, they're going to have their lunch eaten by a competitor, they're going to be stuck where they are, you don't have to depend on things like time deadlines and limited quantities. You can do a lot better, a lot longer. And so I learned that lesson. And when I came out with my next product, I ended up making around $5 million with that next product, because I wasn't stupid enough to only depend on a timed deadline. The other thing that you want to ask is there an emotional driver in the copy? Do you have some sort of an emotion that's going to grab these people right at the beginning of your copy? Now, this can be fear, it can be desire, it can be curiosity, it can be pain, it can be pleasure. It can be satisfaction versus dissatisfaction when you're talking about problems. But there has to be emotion infused into your copy. And emotion is created by circumstances they either want to get rid of or they want to create. That's really what it comes down to. Your copy is either driving them towards something, or it's helping them to see that they can move away from something that they don't like. They're moving towards something they want, moving away from something they don't like. But there has to be an emotional component in the copy. So if your copy is not performing, you need to look at it and say, is there something here that actually is grabbing people emotionally other than just I'm promising them they're going to make money? And 9 times out of 10, from my experience, people buy out of dissatisfaction with their current circumstances. I mean, think about it. Why would you go buy a couch? Well, you would think, oh, I want to buy a couch because I want to be comfortable. No, you're going to go buy a couch because the couch you have is not comfortable enough for you to put up with sitting in it anymore. Or you don't have a couch right now and you don't want to sit on the floor. So they may be driven or they may be somewhat motivated by what they want, but what actually gets people into action is dissatisfaction. Because if things are good enough, people will sit in the crappy couch eating Cheetos, watching a TV that is sort of tuned in. Because until it is hurting enough to make a change, people don't make the change. So remember that. 9 times out of 10, they buy out of dissatisfaction with current circumstances because that creates the drive to buy now rather than to put it off. The next thing you need to look at is, do your bullets suck? And if your bullets suck, you're going to have a hard time actually making sales. Are your bullets curiosity drivers, or are they boring and bland and read like a technical manual? Again, we've done an entire secret on bullets and the proper bullet formula. So the question is, are you featuring features or are you featuring benefits and payoffs? Bullets are what drive the pressure inside of people for them to take action and for them to actually put their credit card in, especially online, and buy from you. And speaking of buying from you online, what about the price? That's another thing that can kill your results. Is the price too high relative to what others are charging? Now, that doesn't mean you can't charge a premium price as long as your offer justifies charging a premium price. On the flip side, is your price too low, and that's creating the perception that you're too cheap? Think about it. As an example, if you had a course on how to do options trading and you were focusing on a biz op market, that's going to have a very different price than if you were focusing on a group of people who were experienced investors who were looking to branch out into some sort of an options or futures or some sort of market that if they saw your product was $97, they would start laughing and think it wasn't even worth their time because it was way too cheap and obviously it wasn't worth anything. So your price can be too high, but it can also be too low. And what's the only way to find out? Test. The thing you got to think about though, when you're looking at your price, is the value there? Does it feel like a great deal? Does it feel like, wow, this is amazing and I need to buy this before they raise the price or change their minds? Now, there's a concept called selling dollars for dimes. And I actually learned this concept from a guy named Marlon Sanders. And he explained it this way. Basically, you need to have your offer with your bonuses and with everything they're going to get to be worth genuinely in the prospect's mind 10 times what you're actually charging. That seems to be the magic number. Now, whether it needs to be 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 or 5 to 1 or 13 to 1 isn't really the issue. What the issue is, though, is that it has to feel like you're selling dollars for dimes. And if somebody offered you, hey, I will sell you as many dollars as you want for just 10 cents a piece. And the question would be, how many would you buy? And the answer is as many as you could. That's the feeling that you want people to have. So if you're sales price is $97, this is saying you want to give $1,000 in demonstrable value. That's selling dollars for dimes. If you're charging $1,000, then you want somebody to feel like they're getting $10,000 worth of value. Now, like I said, it's not always 10 to 1, but it has to feel like this is an amazing, authentic, real deal. So if your copy's not performing, is price or the perceived value through your price not there? Are you using the right graphics and colors? Do your graphics actually add to the message? Do you even have any graphics? If you do use graphics, are they a distraction? Graphics can increase the level of professionalism. They can also increase the level of emotion. They can also distract people, and they can make people feel bad when they look at your copy, even if they don't know why. So you need to be really careful, especially with your colors. Do your colors match, or does it look like a psychedelic acid trip? I always like to think of it, that website's so ugly, it makes you want to smack its mama. And you're much better off having a website that's plain and conservative than you are one that's crazy and reaching out and assaulting people's eyeballs. But you do want to use graphics appropriately. And typically, the easy way to think about that is each major point or each major idea in your sales copy should have an accompanying graphic to go with it. And that's the rule that I typically use. What about proof? Again, if your sales copy is not performing, it could be that people simply don't believe you. Do you offer proof, especially around your claims? So, anytime you make a claim, you need to have something to back it up. Now, whether it's a testimonial or a case study or statistics or an expert endorsement, anytime you're telling people something that they could go, I'm not sure about that, or I doubt that, or you think of some smart aleck in the back of a room screaming, prove it. That's when you need to have some sort of third party something that gives validation to what you're doing and that it works and that it's true. Now, think about other things you could do online: screenshots, before and after pictures, photographs of bank statements and checks and closing statements and all those things. But you need to be careful with those as well, that you can truly substantiate, because those are the kinds of things that the FTC loves to come after. Before and after pictures with weight loss, pictures of checks, pictures of bank statements, pictures of your PayPal account, pictures of inside your online banking statement or investment account. All of these are things you have to be super careful of. And on a side note, if you're in some sort of investing or weight loss or anything that involves people's health or their money, you need to be doubly cautious about any claims you make, having the right disclaimers, and any pictures or testimonials you use. They need to be 100% rock solid so that you don't run into a situation where you, even if it's true, you can't substantiate it because you haven't kept very good records, because that can still come back to bite you on the butt. So these are all the ways to put lipstick on a pig. And these aren't actually all the ways to put lipstick on a pig, but they're a pretty darn good start. So I'm going to take a time out here for like 30 seconds and take a drink. Are you guys still with me? Are you learning anything? Is this good so far? Is this up to our past standards? Don't everybody talk at once. Okay, cool. People are enjoying it. Alrighty. Okay, let me check something real quick. Okay, cool. So let's keep going because there's plenty more goodness where this came from. Copywriting secret, the hired gun. How to find an expert to outsource copy to if you do decide to hire out a job. How to find an expert to outsource copy to if you do decide to hire out a job. Now, here are some realities of outsourcing copy. And I will tell you right up front, I am not a huge fan of outsourcing copy. Not because I'm a glutton for punishment and not because I think that sitting around and creating copy is the most exciting thing in the world I could be doing compared to other stuff. But the reality is that nobody knows your product as well as you do. Nobody knows your market as well as you do. So half the problem or the challenge of hiring somebody to write copy for you is that you're going to have to teach them all that they're going to need to know about your product and your market in order for them to be able to figure out how to write sales copy. So it's not like you can just say, okay, I'm going to go find somebody to write me a sales letter in my orchid growing niche. Let me go find an orchid growing copywriter. It's not that easy. To find a good copywriter, you have to find somebody who's going to understand your product and understand your market. And the way they're going to understand is you're going to have to teach them. Now, an outside perspective can be good sometimes. It really can, especially if you're not real experienced as a copywriter, because they can ask you questions. And if you're too close to your product, sometimes an outside person can help you see the forest for the trees, as opposed to you just being totally focused on one tree. So what I have found, though, if you're looking for an outside perspective, is that it's often more helpful to hire a copywriter to critique your copy once you've created it. To have somebody go through and do something similar to the secret we did on putting lipstick on the pig. Basically, in that secret, I just shared with you my checklist that I run down looking at my own copy and other people's copy too, to see where there's a problem. So having somebody who's experienced at writing copy in general, critiquing, can be a really good thing. But the reality is that in order for you to have somebody write copy for you, they're going to ask you lots and lots of questions. You're going to do at least one big, long interview with them, if not more. And so that still means lots of work for you. You still are going to have to sit down and figure out who your market is, what the benefits are, what the payoffs are, what their motivation is, what the emotional impact is, what the reason is for them to buy, how to get them to buy now, what the limited time bonuses, all these different things. You're still going to have to figure it out, and you're going to have to communicate it to someone else. And what this means is that in the end, if they've done their job right, you're going to get back sales copy that you look at and you literally say, hey, you just spit back what I told you. And they're going to look at you and say, well, yeah, I did, because we did the research and I found out all the stuff from you. And pretty much all they do is plug your ideas into their swipe file, because a copywriter is going to get all the information that they need from you, and they're going to put it into the patterns that we all know and see as sales copy. So the bottom line is you're just going to get your own stuff back. Somebody else is going to take your stuff, put it into their framework, and then give it back to you and charge you $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I don't know. It depends on what you're having them do. So that begs the question, well, when should I do it versus when should I not do it? When should I hire somebody to do it for me? When should I not hire somebody to do it for you? And my honest answer is you should be able to write your own copy. Now, let's analyze what I just said there. you should be able to write your own copy. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it all the time. Typically, you're not going to do it when you simply don't have time to do it. And that's fair. That's fine. If you don't have time to do it, it means that you're probably making money in your business, and it's worth it to you to be able to hire somebody to write the first draft of something for you. But you should be good enough at copywriting that you can look at what they send you and know if it's any good or not, and be able to tweak it to make it even more effective for your target audience. So give up the dream right now of thinking that you can go somewhere and hire a copywriter, tell them to write you a sales letter to sell your product, and magically a sales letter or video sales letter will appear a few days later that will make you money, and do it with no effort on your part whatsoever. That is a pipe dream. It cannot happen. The work is going to be put in one way or another, but it doesn't happen ever for you to just go to somebody and say, write me a sales letter for this product, and you don't have to do anything. It just doesn't happen. So if you choose to outsource it, here's how I have done it in the past. Step one is you want to audition people with a small project. You do not go out and hire somebody for 10 or 15K to write a 30-page sales letter for you unless you know them, you know their results, or you've been referred to them on good authority. And usually I consider good authority God, and everybody else is a poser. For real. Do not do this. And I've seen people do it more times than I can count. I need a sales letter. That guy's a good sales copywriter, so I'm going to send him $10,000 or $15,000 and have him write me a sales letter. And so you put yourself in hock on your credit card, you get it done. The sales letter sucks. You're not going to get your money back. And so you're stuck with sales copy that sucks, and you're $10,000 to $15,000 lighter. Now you're wiser, but you're still $10,000 to $15,000 poorer. So do not go out and do that. What you do is you hire 3 or 4 people to do a small project. Have them do something like an email, do a set of headlines, do an introductory paragraph, do an offer summary. See if they can deliver something that makes sense in your market, with your product, with what you're doing. Not in general, but specifically for you. So have them write an email teaser for a webinar that you're going to be doing. Have them write a set of headlines for a website that you're considering having them create the sales letter for. Have them write the introductory paragraph for that website, or for making the introductory part of a video sales letter. This is where you can tell whether they're full of crap or not. The next thing you want to do is ask for examples of their work and actually read the examples and verify that they were the ones who actually wrote it. Now, here's a dirty little secret of hiring copywriters. There are different levels of copywriters out there. And when you hire somebody on the cheap to do something, you might think you're dealing with this person, but he's outsourcing to this person over here who's a junior copywriter. And so they're the ones creating your stuff. And he's charging you whatever, and he's paying this person 30% of that. And so this person's just giving you what somebody else has done. That happens all the time with not only copywriting, but also content creation. These people are all just whoring around with each other. So the other thing you want to do to make sure that it's actually theirs is to get referrals to their past clients. Ask them for referrals to their past clients and actually talk to these people. Hey, did so-and-so write this for you? How was the process? How were your results? The other thing you have to be real careful of is when you're asking for these referrals, that especially if you're like, oh, I need somebody who's in the real estate, I need a real estate copywriter. Make sure that they're just not taking their boilerplate and regurgitating you into something that they have basically one thing. And there's one of the ways that you can do that is to use Google. There are also plagiarism detectors out there on the web that you can check, that you can paste in some of that copy and see if it's showing up all over the web. That's another thing that you can do. If you see the same sales letter showing up in 5, 10, 15 different places, and you see, oh, they just changed out Joe Jones, Mary Smith, so-and-so, you, again, would be shocked at what people will do. Again, once they get your money, they're done. There's nothing you can do. So you got to be careful. You also need to keep in mind the size of the project that you want them to do. So vetting somebody to write an email for you is very different than hiring somebody to write a long form sales letter. But then again, the price of it is going to be a lot less as well. So you can also hire different people to do different things. If you hired somebody to create all the offer part of your copy, hired somebody to do a bunch of headlines for you, hire somebody to write a bunch of bullets for you, hire somebody to help you create your story. Now, as an aside, for some of you, this is going to sound a lot like a nifty little product called Funnel Scripts, which helps you to create all the different parts of your copy. And that's the biggest reason why I created Funnel Scripts along with Russell Brunson, was because once you understand that sales copy is nothing more than assembling a bunch of different parts, and that creating those parts is simply a process of asking and answering questions and then plugging those parts into proven blueprints and formulas. Once you understand that, you'll never look at copy the same way again, and you'll realize that that's all that most copywriters are doing. Not all, but most copywriters are doing that, so why not do it for yourself, especially when you have a cool tool like Funnel Scripts to help you do it. And so even when you do get the copy back from the professional copywriter, you need to be prepared to tweak that copy when you get it back. And whatever they give you, you can't expect it to work right out of the box. They're going to hand you a first draft. You or somebody else is going to have to go through and work that thing over and tweak it and bend it and mold it and shape it and test it to see if it's actually going to work. And when you see all the work that you still have to do when you hire somebody, in most cases, honestly, it's simply easier for you to do it yourself. Copywriting secret: polishing your sales copy. You want to make it shine, baby, because when it comes down to making money, people do judge your copy. So it's critical that you actually polish your copy up. People do judge you by the quality of the words you display or say. That means you go through and you do a grammar check, you do the spelling check, you do the punctuation check, you do the formatting check. You do all these things to make sure that when someone's reading or watching or listening, you don't stick your foot in your mouth. You don't come off like an idiot. And whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, typos and grammatical errors, errors in what you're saying, errors in how things look, funky line breaks, all of these things cause people to judge you negatively. And whether they think the thought consciously or not, and many people do, if they won't take enough time to proofread their sales message, what does that tell me about the quality of the product itself? Now, especially if you're selling info or training or coaching, people are going to judge your level of professionalism by your grammar, your spelling, your punctuation, and your formatting. Now, you can argue with me if you want, and I don't care because I know that this is true. So get over yourself if you're thinking it doesn't matter, because it does. You also need to check how your copy looks or your video plays in every different type of web browser. That means you see whether your video is playing properly in Chrome, in Firefox, in Opera, in Internet Explorer, even though nobody uses that anymore. Actually, they do. So you need to see how it looks. You need to see how it plays. It's funny, I learned this lesson back in 1996. This is when I had started my web design business. I was writing all sorts of copy for people. I'd created a website for a real estate broker, and it looked perfect in my monitor. And so I went to his house and I was so excited to show it to him, and it looked like complete crap on his monitor. It had a gray background, and this was back when people were still, it was either Internet Explorer or Mozilla, and Mozilla displayed everything with a gray background unless you had specified a white background. So it was a gray background and all the pictures looked like crap. The resolution of his page was different. There was none of this stuff with mobile compatible or anything like that. But I learned the difference between 480 and by 320 or 640 by 480 in browsers in your screen resolution. And that's when it smacked me in the mouth when I walked out of there thinking, oh my God, I almost lost this, because I didn't check to see how it would look to everybody. And since that day, I have always done that. And whenever I have forgotten, typically it turns around and bites me on the ass. So you need to check to see how it looks. You also need to check on different types of machines and operating systems, including PC, Mac, iPhone, iPad, Android, Linux. Now, the Linux one's kind of hard because I don't have a Linux computer, but we can check all of these things. Why? Because how the message looks, how the copy displays on somebody's device is not their fault. It's our fault. If it looks good, we can take the credit. If it looks bad, we can take the blame. Because it's not their fault that they're looking at this on an iPad and your video doesn't play right on an iPad. Don't care. Not their fault. Your fault. You're screwing yourself. So you've got to check how it looks under every conceivable condition now in order to not sabotage your copy because it looks like crap. Next thing you want to do is you want to check the secondary reading path. Now, with text, what this means is you scan your copy and see if you can still get the basic message. So that means reading the headline, reading the subheadlines, and then reading the PS, which traditionally is considered the secondary reading path for long form sales copy or print sales copy. People scan, they don't read. So can you get the gist of the idea of your sales copy from reading the headlines, scanning the subheadlines, scanning the bolded words, looking at the pictures, and reading the PS? If not, you've got some work to do, because you should be able to make a compelling case with your copy when people scan it on a secondary reading path. Now, here's something that I guarantee you most people don't do. Watch your video sales letter with the sound turned off. Does it still work? Now, I can hear the groans through the pages here that, oh my God, why would anybody watch a video with the sound turned off? Most videos on Facebook, in fact, as far as I know, all videos on Facebook start playing with the sound muted. That's why you want to have subtitles done for your videos, which, by the way, as an aside, you can have done on rev.com for just $1 a minute, and it's well worth the investment. So I would tell you right now, all of your video sales letters moving forward, you should have subtitles done for them and have them loaded in so that when people watch your video with the sound turned off, they will be able to get the message. Here's another thing that's going on. I mentioned in another secret that the internet has really declared war on autoplay videos. Chrome has taken it to the next level, and I'm sure other browsers will jump on it as well. If your sound is turned on, Chrome will not play your video. It will automatically pause it, even if it is set to autoplay. Now, the one exception to this right now seems to be videos from YouTube in some circumstances, and I think the reason for that is because Chrome is owned by Google and YouTube is owned by Google, and so they're giving special dispensation. Will that last forever? Probably not. There's a movement afoot that if you want a video to autoplay, it has to start autoplaying muted. Most people who are in the play videos for others on the web business don't care about marketers, don't care about the fact that your results are going to go in the toilet if your video doesn't autoplay, which means if you want your video to autoplay, you had better have subtitles at this point is the best advice I can give you, so that people can watch it and read it and then turn the volume on if they choose to. Another reason why you want to make sure that your video sales letter will work with the sound turned off is that a lot of people will watch your video at work where they can't turn the sound on. Even if they want to hear it, they can't turn the sound on because their boss is going to know they're screwing around at their computer. So that's another thing. And another reason why you need to watch your video sales letter with the sound off and see if it still works, if they can still get the message. Next, you want to get a second pair of eyes on your copy, or a second pair of ears and eyes for your video sales letter. But having a second pair of eyes is huge to catch the things that you might have missed, to catch the typos, to catch the grammatical errors, to catch the issues with things playing or not playing or not behaving properly. Nothing will show you where you're going to have a problem than somebody else on their computer trying to absorb your sales message and having some sort of a technical issue. There's an old story here also about getting a second pair of eyes. There's a story about a copywriter who always gave his sales letters to his friends, and his litmus test was if they didn't ask to buy whatever it was that he had written the sales letter about, then he went back to the drawing board. So the lesson in that is your sales copy's got to be so good that you could hand your sales letter to somebody, and if they say, hey, great sales letter, it means your sales letter sucks. The only acceptable response is for them to read your sales letter and say, ooh, where can I get one? Now, I think that's kind of an urban myth to a degree. That's why I'm not bringing up the person that is credited with saying this. And it's really just common sense. Unless the people you're giving your copy to are in your target market, there's really no reason for them to buy. So this being your litmus test of whether or not your copy's good or not, it's going to be kind of tough. Now, on the flip side, if you have some customers that you feel comfortable with saying, hey, would you take a look at this sales message? And they come back and say, hey, this is cool. When are you coming out with this? Or something to that degree, asking you, when can I get this? How can I get this? How much is this going to be? That kind of stuff. That's a great sign. But unless that's actually the case, I don't see a whole lot of people that you would hand your sales copy to proof it, saying, hey, where can I get one? So you also need to be aware of getting caught up in the throw it against the wall mentality. Because of the way everything works online, speed is often valued more than thoughtfulness or methodicalness. And I can understand that. But don't think that these things don't matter, because they do. Your language matters. Your grammar and your spelling and your punctuation and your formatting. All of this stuff matters. Don't just throw it against the wall and then say that the people who are not responding are stupid, because they're not stupid. These are the people you're trying to get to pay you money. And finally, when it comes to polishing your copy, you want to think about the slippery slide test. Really, what we want to have happen is when someone starts at the beginning of our sales message, we want them to go through the whole thing and end up splishing down into the money pool without any problems. So you want to read your copy from the standpoint of the slippery slide. Is there anything in the copy, either visually or grammatically or the way that it reads or the way that it sounds, that causes friction? Because this whole thing should feel like a conversation with no funny breaks or jarring movement from one thought to another. Does each section flow into the next? Or when you get to the end of one section, like your bullets, or where you're explaining what they get in the product, and then all of a sudden you start talking about a case study and you've made absolutely no segue. You need to look at it just as a nonstop conversation, and does each section, each part flow into the next? And if not, then you just need to smooth the language so that it flows. So that might be just as simple as using some copy connectors. Like, now at this point you might be wondering, and that brings me to my next point, or by the way, at this point you might be wondering. It's actually really simple when you think about it like a conversation, as opposed to you coming up with some magical words that are going to force people to act against their will. Copywriting secret: nobody cares about you in your sales copy. They don't care about you. They only care about themselves. Now, that may sound harsh, and you might say to yourself, oh, Jim, that sounds kind of mean. My customers love me. Everybody likes me. That's not true. They do care about me. Nope, they don't. They don't care about you. They really, really, really don't. Think about when you buy stuff. Think about when you are asked to come across with money. What do you care about? Honestly, what do you care about? You care about getting your money's worth. You care about getting what you're promised. You care about getting it when you want it. You care about it meeting your needs. You care about all of the things related to the product and how they relate back to you. What don't you care about? I don't care about the guy's kids. I don't care about the fact that maybe he's having a bad day. I don't care about anything when I'm coming across with money, except whether I'm going to get what I'm supposed to get. And I know this is sounding harsh, but it's absolutely true. Yeah, I'm sure that there's a unicorn out there in every 100 that is totally empathetic towards you and what's going on in your life, and really wants to know what's happening and how they can help you before they give you money. But they are the vast, vast minority. So here's a technique that I've learned over the years to help you make your copy all about them. And this really is a shortcut. This really is a hack. And so what you want to do is look for the following words in your copy: I, me, my, we, ours. I, me, my, we, ours. Why do you want to look for those words? Because those words in your copy show typically where you're talking about yourself. These are the words your prospects don't care to hear unless you're telling them things that will benefit them. So it's real simple. You go back through your copy and you look for any time you've used the words I, me, my, we, ours, and you simply just change the perspective. You change the verbiage. So a quick example of this is where you might say, I want to tell you something here versus here's something you need to know, or there's something you need to know in this situation. Now, it might sound overly simplistic, but it's not, because people don't want to hear about you. They want to hear about themselves. They want to be the hero of your sales message, not you. They want to picture themselves getting the results, not you. They want to have the whole transaction be about them, not about you. And the way that you do this is you convert your copy so that you're not talking about yourself. You're always talking about them, how they're going to be enriched, how they're going to benefit, how they're going to receive what they want. And it literally means that you search through your copy. You look for the I, me, my, we, ours. And you rephrase, you rewrite, you reposition it so that you can use the words you, your, and yours instead. That's it. So in some cases, it's just rephrasing a couple of sentences or maybe just a half of a sentence. In other cases, you might look at this and say, you know what? I'm talking about me here, and I'm getting off on a little bit of an ego trip that really has nothing to do with them. And I need to rewrite this to explain how this is going to benefit them and how my breakthrough is actually going to help them to get the results that they want. So it doesn't mean that you never use the words I, me, my, we, ours, but you're extremely conscious of when you do it and making sure that you're still making it all about them, because that's how you're going to make it work. So remember, it sounds harsh, but nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves when they're buying from you. Okay, guys, that's it for today. We will pick it up again next week. I hope you guys enjoyed this and got some good stuff out of it. I would just ask you, like we did last time, what if you could just tell me real quick, what was your biggest takeaway from this? What was your biggest aha moment? What's the thing that you, if you were going to go out on social media, which would be nice if you did, and talk about, hey, I was just in this cool webinar in the Copywriting Secrets Masterclass. What is the biggest thing that you learned that you can go and apply right now? Rodney says, plenty of harsh truths today. It feels like Jim knows how I read copy ads. Biggest tip is scanning your copy on a secondary path. I always do that. Yep, cool. Terry says, takeaway 99% VSL. Laura Jean says, thanks so much. I'm fixing to go go to my funnel to scrub for any first person pronouns. Awesome. Apple says, never talk about yourself in benefits, leave benefits for them. Cool. Fabian says, my biggest aha moment is that there's no need to hire a copywriter. By the time you educate them, you could have done it yourself. Yep. Especially when you're using funnel scripts. Tim says, it's not about you. Michael says, the reminder is not to we on people in the copy. Nice. I like that. Apple says, funnel scripts rules in all caps. I agree. Okay, guys. Well, this was fun. And so we're going to see you guys next week, and we'll have more awesome copywriting secrets for you. And I think next week is going to be the last class of teaching secrets. And then the following week, I'm just going to be answering a whole bunch of all the questions that people have asked. If I didn't answer them in the copy, but you're definitely going to want to be there for both of those. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.